It really hasn't been that long since Samsung released their Galaxy Z Fold 3, of course, the third iteration of their folding smartphone, the magical little smartphone that can go from normal slab phone to great big giant tablet right there in your pocket, a device that I have loved from the very beginning. But we already have rumors of what a Fold 4, if they do indeed drop the Z moniker for various reasons, which we will not get into today. And these rumors are quite interesting because they actually do point towards some really significant changes on the Fold 4. So the first one is coming from the Galox on Twitter, and this is a leaker who has been pretty accurate for the most part so far, and we can look at these images here in a moment. But first, let's look at the text here. Galaxy Z Fold 4 will be Samsung's first foldable phone with a single hinge. And if we do look at this image now, because it is now appropriate, you can see that hinge down the middle, and it is very narrow. If we look back at this article from Engadget way back when, you can see this was kind of the design before, and there's brushes here on either side to keep junk from getting inside the hinge and then therefore inside the device underneath the screen. What a disaster that is. But look how much wider that is from the image that Anthony has posted here instead. This is a really big change because the hinge system that was in the Z Fold devices before, as this video plays, you can see various different gears and cams and different ways to sort of strengthen the structural nature of the hinge to make it stiffer and so forth. You can see that stuff apparently is going to be reduced something like half to make the hinge much simpler, but also to make the device able to be much thinner and much lighter. As Anthony says here, it allows the device to be thinner and lighter, while also saving costs and being more durable. So fewer moving parts generally equals more durable. Obviously, the hinge itself was quite robust, so just removing half of it, if they're able to do this, and it looks as though they are, is going to reduce weight and is going to make this thing a little bit thinner, which the Z Fold already is kind of a bit of a chunky phone. When it's fully unfolded like this, it's not super duper thick, but when you fold it over, it doubles up, and there's that little bit of gap there in the middle, and the end result is that you have a device that is, quite thick to be in your pocket. So thickness or thinness, depending on if your glass is half full or half empty, is pretty important for Samsung going forward. Of course, we also have to wonder, how will this affect the crease on these Fold devices? The current ones, look, when you look at it, when the light hits it just right, which I'm struggling to find, there you go. You can see how deep that little crease is. There's a divot when you run your hand across it. You can feel it. Now, I'm one of these people that will tell you, trust me, when you use the device, put it in your hands and use it for 15, 20 minutes, and you will stop seeing that crease. You will stop seeing that crease. That is my opinion. That is my experience. That is the experience of some people that I know who have purchased this device. But your mileage may vary. Maybe you're more particular about that stuff than the average person. But I'm just telling you, for me and for everyone that I've talked to, you stop seeing that gap, that divot, I should say, very quickly. However, universally, people that hold the thing, their immediate response is, oh, there's a weird crease, there's a divot. They're immediately perturbed by it, even though they will forget about it very soon. It is a weird barrier for people. People see it and they go, I don't know about that. I don't know if I'd like that or not. Well, trust me, you're going to be fine. But it's a weird barrier to start. So you have to wonder here, is this hinge re-engineering going to have a positive effect on that crease? Can Samsung begin to emulate sort of what we've seen from companies like Oppo or like Motorola, with their hinge kind of being that teardrop with this sort of double crease that is spread out more and is much more difficult to see? And will that allow them to get from here to here? I certainly hope so. I think that would be a great thing for them to be able to strive towards. Now, looking back at this post here, there's a few more things that we kind of want to look at here. And the main thing I want to look at here is with the camera module itself. You can see that right over here to the side. I'm able to zoom this in. You may notice here that this camera module looks pretty much exactly like it does on the current Fold 3. You've got a rounded camera module with 3 cameras there present, and of course an LED flash. So this is not super shocking. This looks pretty much exactly like what you'd expect these small iterations. Obviously with the Fold 2, it was a much larger, more squared look, but they've kind of moved away from that and moved towards this rounded look or individual sort of camera bumps like on the Ultra device. I don't think that's what's going to happen here. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong, but this looks like the same thing we got last year. Now let's look at this report here from Galaxy Club. They're reporting they've received information about the telephoto camera on the Z Fold 4. Now, as we know already, on the Fold 3, and I believe same thing as on the Fold 2, it is a 12 megapixel 2x optical zoom, which is not really anything to write home about. It's fine. It's going to get you decent enough shots. But when you compare it to some of the other offerings out on the market, it is a little bit lackluster. Well, apparently, it's going to be getting a slight bump up in spec because they're reporting the device will apparently soon be equipped with the same zoom camera that's already on the S22 series, which is a 10 megapixel at 3x optical zoom. So this is the one that's in the S22, the S22 Plus, and the S22 Ultra, but of course the Ultra also has the benefit of that massive periscope zoom, which kind of takes over at higher magnifications. But of course, that's not something that the Fold is going to be getting. There's just not room for a periscope camera in something like the Z Fold as of yet. But going from a 2x to a 3x in terms of optical zoom is definitely not a bad change. And I know you're going to be saying, well, they're dropping from 12 megapixels down to 10 megapixels. That really does not matter. That's such a small change, and other things about the sensor also matter quite a bit. So that zoom is really going to be the most important part, and it does appear like that's going to be improved a little bit. Now, we don't necessarily have word about the other sensors. Are they going to move to a much larger, something like the 50 megapixel that is on the other S22 cameras? That is something that they do not report having any knowledge of. I do wish that these Fold devices, given that they're so expensive, they're like $1,800, and I understand why. Everything in this thing is being effectively custom made for this thing. Not everything, but you know what I mean. This is a very highly customized, very weird device. So that's going to drive the price up. It's the same kind of problem to a degree that something like the Surface Duo has. Everything is custom made. This is not off the shelf kinds of parts. You don't go to the phone part picker and buy screens that look like that or buy screens that look like this. They're weird. They have to be custom made, and that costs money. But I do wish that when the device is $1,800, that instead of having 12 megapixel cameras across the board on both of these things like both of these do, it'd be cool if they did have a 48 or a 50 megapixel, something to really push the camera performance over the top. I really like taking photos using my Fold device because you have such a large, beautiful viewfinder to be able to take pictures with. A lot of people like to look down on the parents taking pictures with their tablets. But honestly, I get it. It's a great thing to be able to do. It's a giant viewfinder. And if you're like me and you like taking macro photos, things up very close, and you can't always tell when you're in focus because the screen is small and the lights are bright outside, having that big screen you can see when you're in focus, it's really, really good. So might we see a big improvement on the camera overall? Hopefully, but we don't have news about that yet. But at any rate, there are some big changes coming to the Z Fold 4, according to these rumors. That hinge change, it represents a total re-engineering of the inside of that device, and that is something that is not cheap. That's something that speaks to great investment in this device, and it makes a ton of sense as it does sell better and better. Guys, thanks for making it to the end of today's video. Hit that like button, leave a comment, and hit subscribe if you're not subscribed to see more. I'll see you on the next one, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.